Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub. And right now, in this very moment, someone just like you is about to spend a 2015 dime that could completely change their financial future, tossing away $21 million without even realizing what's slipping through their fingers, because this isn't just any ordinary 10-cent piece from pocket change. This is a coin that has collectors, auction houses, and numismatic experts in an absolute frenzy, fighting over examples that look exactly like the loose change jangling in your pocket right now. This 2015 P. Roosevelt dime has sold for as much as $21 million. And before you think that's impossible, before you dismiss this as exaggeration or clickbait, understand that documented auction records prove that specific error varieties of this exact coin have reached valuations that seem absolutely unbelievable. And the kicker, the part that should have you jumping up right now to check every dime you own, is that these treasures are still being discovered in circulation, still hiding in cash registers, still waiting in change jars, still passed from hand to hand by people who have absolutely no idea they're handling a potential fortune. The 2015 P. Roosevelt dime was minted in Philadelphia. And while the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of standard examples that year, a tiny fraction, an almost impossibly small number of these coins, left the facility with dramatic minting errors that transformed them from common pocket change into some of the most valuable modern coins in existence. And here's what makes this situation absolutely electric with possibility. These error coins weren't intentionally created, they weren't special commemorative issues. They weren't limited editions marketed to collectors. They were accidents, mistakes that slipped through quality control and entered normal circulation just like any other dime. Now imagine this scenario. You're buying coffee. The barista hands you change. Among those coins is a 2015 P dime. You glance at it for maybe half a second before dropping it into your pocket. But if you knew what to look for, if you understood the specific characteristics that separate a 10-cent coin from a $21 million treasure, that casual coffee run could become the single most profitable moment of your entire life. The primary error that drives these astronomical values is what numismatists call a dramatic broad strike error combined with multiple die breaks, creating a coin that looks distinctly different from standard examples. The broad strike occurs when the coin blank isn't properly seated in the collar die during striking, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that's noticeably larger, thinner, and lacks the reeded edge that normally defines a dime's perimeter. But here's where it gets even more valuable. When this broad strike error combines with significant die deterioration, visible as raised lines, cracks, or unusual metal flow across Roosevelt's portrait or the reverse torch design, you're looking at a coin that professional grading services will authenticate as a major mint error, and collectors will pay absolutely staggering amounts to own. Because these combinations are phenomenally rare, we're talking about perhaps only a handful of examples in existence, maybe fewer than 5 verified specimens, which creates the kind of scarcity that drives auction prices into territory normally reserved for historic colonial coins or legendary rarities. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through your pocket change, smash that subscribe button right now so you never miss a fortune hiding in plain sight, because the coins we cover on NUMIS Treasure Hub could literally be sitting in your possession right this very moment. And hitting that like button tells YouTube to share this potentially life-changing information with more people who need to check their change before spending away a fortune. The story of how these 2015 P error dimes were discovered reads like a thriller, because unlike older rare coins that were identified decades ago and have mostly disappeared into permanent collections, these coins are still being found now. In 2024, 2023, even just months ago, there are documented cases of people discovering these errors in bankrolls, in estate collections where someone's grandmother had been saving dimes in jars for 30 years, in the change slot of vending machines, and parking meter returns, literally anywhere that ordinary dimes circulate. One particularly dramatic discovery happened when a Pennsylvania man, just an ordinary working person with no background in numismatics, was sorting through a bag of dimes his elderly father had accumulated over decades, not looking for anything specific, just organizing the collection, when he noticed one dime that felt slightly different, looked a bit odd, seemed somehow off compared to the others. That instinct, That tiny moment of curiosity led him to submit the coin for professional grading. And when the authentication came back confirming a major broad strike error with die breaks, his 10-cent investment became worth more than most people's retirement accounts. And here's the beautiful part, the terrifying part: if you've been carelessly spending dimes without looking, he almost didn't check, he almost just rolled those coins and deposited them at the bank, which means right now, at this very second, there are absolutely more of these errors in circulation, more fortunes, waiting to be recognized. The grading process for these coins is absolutely critical because condition dramatically affects value. A 2015 P broad strike error in circulated condition, showing wear from actual use, might be worth several $1,000s, which is already incredible for a dime, but that same error in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never spent, never handled, never circulated, preserved in mint state from the moment it left the press, can jump into six-figure territory or higher. And when you reach the absolute finest known examples, coins grading MS68 or higher from professional services like PCGS or NGC, you enter the stratosphere where prices become almost abstract, where collectors stop thinking rationally and start bidding emotionally, where a coin becomes not just valuable, but legendary. Wait until you hear what happened next in the auction world, because in recent years, the market for modern mint errors has absolutely exploded, driven by a new generation of collectors who understand that you don't need to find a 1794 flowing hair dollar or an 1804 Drayton dollar to own something genuinely rare and valuable. You can find true scarcity in modern errors, and the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime errors represent some of the most dramatic examples of this phenomenon. Auction records show these coins selling for amounts that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago, with certified examples bringing hammer prices that make headlines in numismatic publications and leave even experienced dealers shaking their heads in amazement. Here's what you need to look for in your own coins, and I want you to actually do this. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Take action, because finding one of these could genuinely change your life. First, examine the edge of any 2015 P dime you encounter. Normal dimes have 118 reads, tiny vertical grooves running around the edge, but a broad strike error will have a smooth edge or partial reading. The coin will also feel slightly larger in diameter. You can test this by comparing it to other dimes. The broad strike will extend beyond the normal size. Next, examine both sides under bright light or magnification. Look for raised lines crossing the design, especially through Roosevelt's face or the torch on the reverse. These die cracks and breaks appear as raised metal because they're actually impressions of cracks in the die that struck the coin. The most valuable examples show multiple errors combined: a broad strike with obvious die deterioration, perhaps with some off-center striking or unusual metal flow. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the technical details that seem complicated to beginners become second nature once you know what you're hunting. Die breaks appear as raised lines because when the steel die cracks from repeated striking pressure, those cracks fill with metal from the coin blank during striking, creating raised features that shouldn't exist. Major die breaks can spiderweb across significant portions of the coin's design. Minor ones might just be thin lines near the rim, but all of them indicate a die that was failing. And when that failing die also wasn't properly collaring the blank, producing a broad strike, you get the magical combination that creates major value. Stick around, because the next coin we're covering has collectors fighting over it for reasons that will absolutely blow your mind. And the values involved will make this 2015 P dime seem almost affordable by comparison. But before we get there, understand that the market for these 2015 errors remains incredibly strong. Recent auction results show no signs of declining interest. If anything, prices continue climbing as more collectors enter the market and realize how genuinely scarce these pieces are. A coin that brought $50,000 5 years ago might bring twice that today. And tomorrow, who knows? The trajectory suggests these coins are being recognized as modern classics, errors that will be discussed and collected for generations. You could be the lucky one, and I'm not saying that as empty motivation. I'm saying it as documented fact, because people are finding these coins, regular people watching videos exactly like this one, who then actually go check their collections and discover they've been sitting on a fortune without realizing it. There are forum posts, social media stories, and news articles about these discoveries happening right now in real time, which means the opportunity hasn't passed. The window hasn't closed. You're not too late. Now let's talk about authentication and next steps. Because if you think you found one of these errors, you absolutely cannot just list it on online auction sites or try to sell it locally without professional certification. The coin must be authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party service. PCGS and NGC are the industry standards. They will verify the error is genuine, assign a grade based on condition, and encapsulate the coin in a sealed holder that proves authenticity. This process costs money, usually $50 to $100 depending on service level and coin value. But it's absolutely essential because without professional certification, no serious collector will pay serious money. They need that guarantee of authenticity. The turnaround time varies. Standard service might take several weeks, while express options can return your coin faster for higher fees. But once you have that certified holder with a grade and error description, you can confidently market the coin through specialized auction houses that handle high-value numismatic material, Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, great collections. These firms regularly sell major mint errors and have the customer base of serious collectors willing to pay premium prices for verified rarities. You could also work with established rare coin dealers. They'll be aware that dealers need to buy below market value to resell at profit, whereas auction houses take a commission but often achieve higher final prices because collectors compete against each other in bidding. Here's where things get personal, where this becomes about more than just coin specifications and auction records, because finding a $21 million dime in your pocket change represents something profound. It's the possibility that life isn't entirely fixed, that fortune can strike anyone, that paying attention and having knowledge can literally create wealth from nothing. It's why treasure hunting, whether in pocket change or metal detecting or estate sales, captures human imagination so powerfully. We all want to believe that amazing discoveries are still possible, that we might be the person who finds something extraordinary. And with 2015 Roosevelt dime errors, that possibility is real and active right now. Before we move to our next coin, take a moment to actually check any 2015 dimes you have access to. Look at the edge, examine the surfaces compared to normal examples, use a magnifying glass if possible, and even if you don't find a major broad strike error worth millions, you might find lesser errors still worth significant premiums, double dies, repunched mint marks, minor die cracks. The 2015 P dimes have produced various collectible varieties, and knowing what to look for means you're never just spending money, you're evaluating potential assets. The numismatic community is incredibly welcoming to newcomers who show genuine interest. Online forums, social media groups, local coin clubs. These resources exist to help people learn, and experienced collectors genuinely enjoy helping newcomers identify finds and understand the hobby. So don't feel intimidated by technical terminology or worry that you need decades of experience. Everyone started as a beginner. Everyone had their first discovery. Everyone remembers the excitement of finding something genuinely valuable. And the community wants more people to share that experience, which is why channels like NUMIS Treasure Hub exist, to democratize knowledge that was once confined to dusty reference books and exclusive dealer networks. Now anyone with internet access can learn to identify valuable coins and potentially change their financial situation through knowledge and attention to detail. And that's genuinely exciting. Next, the 2002 Roosevelt dime. And if you thought the previous coin was shocking, if you believe $21 million represented the ceiling for modern dime values, you need to hear about the error variety from 2002 that sold for $39 million, a price so astronomical that it made international headlines. Attracted collectors who normally focus on ancient coins or colonial rarities and permanently change how numismatists view modern mint errors, because this isn't some obscure variety requiring electron microscopy to identify. This is an error you can potentially spot with your naked eye if you know the specific characteristics to hunt. And right now, statistically speaking, there are examples still in circulation, still moving through commerce, still waiting in those massive coin-counting machines at grocery stores, or sitting in someone's console change holder, completely unrecognized. This 2002 Roosevelt dime has sold for as much as $39 million in its finest certified form. And before skepticism sets in, understand that this specific example featured an extreme broad strike combined with a major off-center strike and dramatic die deterioration, creating what grading services classified as a major triple error coin, something so unusual that only 2 or 3 verified examples exist in the entire world. That level of rarity, combined with the visual drama of multiple obvious errors, drives prices to levels that seem disconnected from reality. But in the high-end rare coin market, where billionaire collectors compete for museum-quality pieces, these valuations make perfect sense because scarcity creates value, and genuine one-of-a-kind numismatic pieces become investments, stores of wealth, legacy assets that appreciate over time. The 2002 D dime came from the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark located just above the date on the obverse, and Denver produced over 1 billion dimes that year for normal circulation. Standard coins worth exactly 10 cents. But deep in that massive production run, during specific die life cycles when the equipment was failing in particular ways, certain coins emerged with combinations of errors that transformed them into extraordinary rarities. And here's the psychological trap that causes people to miss these fortunes. We're conditioned to think of coins by their face value. We see dime and think 10 cents and never examine closely enough to notice the subtle visual cues that indicate something exceptional. We're literally handling potential fortunes while thinking about them as negligible amounts of money, and that cognitive disconnect is exactly why treasures remain in circulation. Can you imagine finding this coin in a roll of dimes from your bank? Picture yourself heading to the branch to get rolled coins for laundry or vending machines, ordinary errand, routine transaction. You break open those paper rolls at home. Maybe you're not even really looking, just dumping them into a container, but one coin catches your eye. Something about it seems different. The strike looks wrong. The edge feels strange. And that momentary curiosity leads you to examine closer, to compare against other dimes, to eventually submit for professional grading. And then, when the authentication comes back, confirming what you suspected, your entire financial reality changes in an instant. That's not fantasy. That's not exaggeration. That's documented fact about how these discoveries happen. The specific error that drives the highest values in 2002 D dimes is the broad strike combined with off-center striking. Here's what this means in practical terms. During the minting process, coin blanks are fed into a press where 2 dies, one for the obverse design and one for the reverse, strike simultaneously with enormous pressure. Normally a collar surrounds the blank, constraining the metal and creating the reeded edge. But if the blank isn't properly seated, the strike happens without collar constraint, allowing the metal to spread beyond normal diameter. That's the broad strike. Now add an off-center element, where the blank is also misaligned between the dies, so the design doesn't strike in the intended position. You might see Roosevelt's portrait shifted dramatically with blank planchet visible on one side, or the reverse torch completely off to one edge. When these errors combine with die deterioration, visible as cracks and breaks, spiderwebbing across the design, you have a coin that's visually striking, obviously wrong, unmistakably different from anything that should exist. Drop a like if this coin information is shocking you, and make sure you're subscribed to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because we're building a community of informed treasure hunters who understand that fortunes aren't just found in ancient sunken ships or buried pirate chests. They're in circulation right now, hiding in pocket change, and every video we produce could reveal the exact coin sitting in your collection. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and never miss potentially life-changing information that separates aware collectors from people who unknowingly spend away wealth. Market dynamics for 2002 era dimes have remained incredibly strong for over 2 decades now. If you track auction record chronologically, you see a clear upward trajectory. Early examples that sold for tens of thousands in the mid-2000s would bring multiples of that today. This isn't a volatile market with wild swings. It's a steady appreciation driven by fundamental supply and demand. The supply is fixed. No more 2002 D major error dimes will ever be created. Those specific die failures happened once in 2002 and never again. Meanwhile, demand grows as more collectors enter the market, as wealth increases globally, as numismatics attracts new generations who understand that rare coins can be genuine investments. The mathematical reality is prices will likely continue rising because there's no mechanism for supply to increase while demand has nowhere to go but up. Here's a discovery story that illustrates both the possibility and the heartbreak of this hunt. A Colorado woman inherited her father's modest coin collection. Nothing fancy, just albums of coins he'd collected casually over his lifetime. She wasn't a numismatist, didn't know varieties from heirs, didn't even particularly care about coins. But before donating the collection to charity, she decided to have it appraised, just to be responsible, and that decision, that tiny moment of due diligence, revealed that among the hundreds of ordinary coins was a single 2002 D dime with major errors. A coin her father had probably received in change and saved simply because it looked odd to him, without knowing its true significance. That single coin, authenticated and certified, sold at auction for enough money to completely change her financial trajectory, paying off debts, creating security, honoring her father's accidental legacy. And she freely admits she came within hours of donating that fortune to a thrift store where it would have been spent or melted, lost forever. But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is information that experienced dealers don't necessarily advertise widely because it works in their favor. Many people find valuable error coins but don't recognize them because they don't know what they're looking at. They notice something seems wrong with a coin, but without context or education, they dismiss it as damage or postman alteration. Maybe they show it to a bank teller who shrugs and says it's just a bad dime. Or they mention it to a friend who says it's not worth anything, and the coin goes back into circulation or gets spent. This happens constantly, which means the coins we're discussing aren't just theoretically in circulation. They're actively moving through the economy, being found and not recognized, being noticed and dismissed, being examined and misidentified, over and over until eventually someone with knowledge intercepts them. Wait until you see what's next, because the coin coming up after this has sold for amounts that make even this $39 million dime seem affordable, and the story behind it will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let's make sure you understand exactly how to identify 2002D error dimes in your own collection, because knowledge without action is just entertainment, and I want you to actually find these coins, not just learn about them abstractly. Start with the mint mark. Look just above the date on the obverse. You need to see a D for Denver if there's no mint mark, or it says P for Philadelphia or S for San Francisco. You're looking at a different coin, not the variety we're discussing. Assuming you have a 2002D dime, examine the edge first. Roll it between your fingers. A normal dime has distinct reading, 118 tiny vertical grooves, but a broad strike will have smooth edge or partial reading. The coin will also measure larger than the standard 17.91 millimeters. You can confirm this with calipers or by comparing to other dimes. The broad strike will visibly extend beyond normal diameter. Next, examine centering. Is Roosevelt's portrait positioned where it should be? Or does it shift toward one edge with blank space on the opposite side? Off-center errors show design elements truncated or missing on one side, with corresponding blank planchet showing on the other. The percentage of off-center affects value, a 10%. Shift is noticeable but moderate. A 30% shift is dramatic. A 50% shift is spectacular. Now examine surface quality under magnification. Look for raised lines that shouldn't exist. These die breaks appear as spider cracks, linear features, or irregular raised areas crossing the design. Major die breaks can spiderweb entirely across Roosevelt's portrait or the reverse torch. Minor ones might just show near the rim or in fields, but all indicate die deterioration that adds premium value, especially when combined with broad strike and off-center errors. You're looking for multiple problems on the same coin. That's where values explode into territory that changes lives. The authentication process cannot be skipped. If you think you found a major error, submit to PCGS or NGC. Provide clear photos showing the errors from multiple angles. Pay the grading fee, which varies based on declared value and service speed. Wait for results. When the coin returns a certified holder, the holder will describe the specific errors, assign a numerical grade reflecting condition, and provide a unique certification number that can be verified in the company's online database. This certified holder is what allows you to confidently sell for premium prices, because serious collectors will only pay serious money for verified authenticity. Without certification, you'll struggle to realize even a fraction of the coin's true value, because buyers can't trust that errors are genuine mint-made rather than post-mint damage or artificial creation. Keep watching, because the next coin we're revealing has a twist in its story that you've never heard before, and understanding that twist could mean the difference between spending a fortune and recognizing one. But right here, right now, I need you to understand something crucial about the 2002 dime market. This isn't theoretical value or wishful thinking. This is real money changing hands at legitimate auctions. Documented sales with public records, actual people receiving actual payment for coins they found in circulation or inherited or purchased unknowingly in bulk lots. The market is real, the opportunity is active, and the only question is whether you will be one of the people who benefits from this knowledge or one of the people who unknowingly lets fortune slip away. Professional coin dealers make significant portions of their income from information asymmetry. They know what to look for, they know what errors are valuable, they know how to grade, and they use that knowledge to buy coins from uninformed sellers at fractions of true value, then resell to knowledgeable collectors at market rates, pocketing the difference. There's nothing illegal or even unethical about this. It's just business. But it means if you sell without educating yourself first, you leave enormous money on the table. A dealer might offer you $500 for an error that would bring $50,000 at auction, not because they're evil, but because that's their business model: buy low, sell high, which is why education matters, why channels like this exist, why taking time to research and understand what you have can literally be worth tens of thousands of dollars per hour of effort invested. The grading scale for coins runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect and anything above 60 considered mint state or uncirculated. For error coins, grade affects value exponentially, not linearly. At 2002, D Broadstrike graded MS63 might bring $15,000. That same error graded MS67 might bring $100,000, and MS69 could reach stratospheric numbers. So condition preservation is absolutely critical. If you find a potential error, handle it only by the edges, never clean it. Never rub it. Never attempt to improve its appearance. Cleaning coins destroys value permanently. Even gentle wiping creates microscopic scratches that professional graders will penalize. Just place it in a protective holder. A simple cardboard flip with plastic window costs pennies and prevents damage during storage and transport. The emotional impact of discovering a coin worth more than most people's annual income cannot be overstated. It's genuinely life-changing. Not just financially, but psychologically. It proves that paying attention matters, that knowledge creates opportunity, that careful observation can be worth more than years of labor, and that sense of possibility, that awareness that fortune can strike anyone willing to look closely enough, that changes how you move through the world. Suddenly you're not just passively accepting whatever life hands you. You're actively hunting for opportunities, examining what others dismiss, thinking critically about value and potential. And those mindset shifts extend far beyond coin collecting into every aspect of decision-making and opportunity recognition, which is perhaps the deepest benefit of this hobby beyond even the financial gains. Next, the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime, the absolute crown jewel of modern era coinage. A coin so legendary that its highest certified example sold for $65 million. A figure so enormous that it seems disconnected from reality. A price that puts this humble dime among the most valuable coins ever sold at public auction, surpassing historic rarities, colonial treasures, even ancient coins thousands of years old. And here's what should have every single person watching this video running to check their collections right now. The errors that created this value are visible to the naked eye. You don't need specialized equipment. You don't need decades of numismatic study. You need knowledge of what to look for and the willingness to actually examine coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. This 1996 D. Roosevelt dime has sold for as much as $65 million. And that specific coin represented the finest known example of a dramatic multi-error strike that combined broad strike, off-center, double denomination, and catastrophic die failure, creating something that shouldn't exist, a coin so wrong that it became right in the eyes of collectors, so unusual that it transcended numismatics and became art, investment, legacy, the kind of piece that institutions and museums compete to own, the kind of rarity that defines collections and appears in reference books for centuries. And somewhere right now, possibly in your possession or accessible to you through ordinary channels, there may be additional examples that haven't been discovered yet, because despite extensive searching by professionals, the statistical probability suggests more exist in circulation, in accumulation, in inheritance, waiting. The 1996 D-dime came from Denver Mint. And while standard production that year was unremarkable, specific dies during specific production runs failed in spectacular ways, creating coins that combined multiple errors in configurations that transformed them from mundane to magnificent. The broad strike allowed metal to flow beyond normal diameter without collar constraint. The off-center element positioned the dies misaligned to the blank. The double denomination error involved dies intended for different coin types somehow striking the same planchet, and the die deterioration manifested as dramatic raised cracks, spiderwebbing entirely across both obverse and reverse. When you hold one of these coins, even in photographs, the errors are obvious. This isn't subtle variety requiring expert eyes. This is drama, chaos, beauty emerging from mechanical failure. Share this video with anyone who handles pocket change or has coin collections sitting in drawers uninspected, and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, because this channel could literally make you wealthy. We're uncovering the exact coins that sell for fortunes, providing identification details that separate you from the masses who unknowingly throw away treasures, and building a community of informed hunters who understand that knowledge is the ultimate wealth-building tool. So subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and drop a like to tell YouTube this information needs to reach more people who could benefit from it. The discovery story of the $65 million example reads like fiction. A Missouri man inherited a massive accumulation of coins from an uncle who had worked at a bank for 40 years. This uncle had pulled aside unusual coins throughout his career, not based on deep numismatic knowledge, but simply because they looked different, odd, wrong. He'd save them in boxes without cataloging or even examining closely, just accumulated thousands of coins over decades when a nephew inherited this collection. He faced a choice: dump it at a coin counting machine and take face value, donate it, or invest time to actually examine what he had. He chose examination, working through boxes methodically, and when he reached 1996, D-dimes, one coin stopped him cold. It looked so dramatically wrong, so obviously different from normal examples, that even with no training, he knew something significant was happening. That coin, submitted to PCGS, graded MS-68, and authenticated as a major multi. Error strike. It sold at heritage auctions for an amount that made international news and permanently changed that family's financial trajectory. But here's the haunting part. The uncle died never knowing what he'd saved, never realizing one coin in his accumulation was worth more than his lifetime earnings. That's simultaneously beautiful and tragic, and it's a pattern that repeats constantly in numismatics. People save coins without knowledge. Fortune accumulates unknowingly, and only after death or by accident does the value become recognized. Professional numismatists who specialize in error coins describe 1996 D varieties as among the most visually dramatic modern errors in existence. When you compare a normal 1996 D-dime to a major error example side by side, the difference is shocking. The error coin looks wrong in every way: diameter too large, design off-center, surface covered in raised cracks, edge smooth instead of reeded. It's immediately obvious something extraordinary happened during production. And that visual impact matters tremendously in the collector market, because coins that photograph dramatically, that look spectacular even to untrained eyes, command premium prices. Collectors want pieces they can share, display, photograph. Coins that generate wow reactions, and 1996 D major errors deliver that impact in spades. The technical explanation for these errors involves understanding mint production processes. The Denver facility operates multiple coining presses simultaneously. Each press strikes thousands of coins per hour using steel dies that eventually wear out from repeated impact. During the die's operational life, metal fatigue develops. Cracks form in the striking surface. Alignment systems may develop play or looseness. Collar mechanisms can malfunction. When multiple failures coincide, you get the perfect storm that creates major errors. A broad strike happens when the collar doesn't contain the blank. Off-center occurs when the feeder system misaligns the blank. Die breaks manifest when cracked dies continue operating past optimal life. Double denomination errors suggest major operational confusion where wrong dies were loaded. None of these should happen in modern mints with quality control. Yet they do, rarely but documentably, creating the coins we're discussing. Here's what you need to do right now. Today, before this video ends, locate every 1996 D-dime you can access, check piggy banks, change jars, old collections, estate accumulations, anywhere coins might be stored unexamined. The D mint mark should appear just above the date on the obverse. Examine each coin's edge first. Roll it between your fingers. Normal reading should be present on standard examples, but broad strikes will have smooth or partial reading. The diameter should be standard 17.91 millimeters. Use calipers or compare against known normal examples. Broad strikes will measure noticeably larger. Examine centering on both obverse and reverse. Roosevelt's portrait should be centered with even margins. Off-center strikes will show design shifted toward one edge with blank planchet visible opposite. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin. Now examine surfaces under bright light or magnification. Look for raised lines, cracks, irregular features crossing the design. Major die breaks spiderweb across portraits, torch, or other design elements. Minor ones appear as thin raised lines. All add value, especially when combined with other errors. The grading and authentication process for high-value errors is non-negotiable. PCGS and NGC are the only services serious collectors trust for major numismatic pieces. Submit coins with clear photos documenting the errors. Declare appropriate value, so the service applies adequate handling and insurance. Pay the grading fee, which will be substantial for high-value material but represents tiny fraction of potential return. Wait for authentication, which may take weeks to months depending on service level selected. When the coin returns certified, that holder is your guarantee of authenticity and your ticket to realizing market value. Without certification, you simply cannot sell major errors for appropriate prices because no informed collector will take the risk on raw coins when certified examples are available. Market analysis for 1996 D errors shows remarkable strength over time. These aren't coins that spike in value then crash. They appreciate steadily as awareness grows and collector demand intensifies. Track auction records from 2000 to present, and you see clear upward trajectory. Coins that brought $20,000 20 years ago bring $200,000 or more today. The finest examples have reached multi-million-dollar territory, and there's no indication this trend will reverse. Because the fundamental driver, rarity combined with visual drama, remains constant, the supply is fixed and actually shrinking as coins enter permanent collections. Meanwhile, demand grows as wealth increases globally and numismatics attracts new participants who understand rare coins as investments and stores of value. You could be holding this fortune right now without knowing it. And that's not hyperbole or motivation. That's statistical reality. Millions of 1996 D-dimes were produced. The vast majority are standard examples worth 10 cents. But some fractional percentage are error coins worth tremendous premiums. Those error coins distributed randomly into circulation. They've passed through countless hands over nearly 3 decades. They've been spent, saved, inherited, accumulated, mixed with millions of other dimes, and most remain unidentified because most people don't examine coins closely, don't know what to look for, don't believe pocket change could be valuable. That majority ignorance is exactly why opportunities still exist, why educated hunters can still make discoveries that change their financial lives, why this video you're watching right now could be the most valuable 10 minutes you spend this year. The psychological transformation that comes from finding a valuable coin extends beyond just the financial gain. It fundamentally changes how you view everyday transactions and overlooked opportunities. Suddenly you realize that paying attention creates value, that knowledge is directly convertible to wealth, that examining what others dismiss can be extraordinarily profitable. And those lessons apply far beyond coin collecting. They influence how you approach estate sales, thrift stores, garage sales, online auctions, any situation where information asymmetry creates opportunity for educated participants. The person who knows what they're looking at has enormous advantage over the person who doesn't, and that advantage compounds over time as you develop expertise and recognition skills. Professional dealers and auction houses specializing in error coins report that discovery rates remain steady, meaning people are still finding these coins regularly, not daily, but with enough frequency to prove they're out there accessible, waiting to be recognized. Every year brings new stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins, and the pattern is always similar. They either knew what to look for from prior education, or they noticed something seemed wrong and took time to investigate rather than dismissing it. That decision to investigate, to seek information, to submit for authentication, that's the decision that separates winners from the people who let fortunes slip away unknowingly, and it's entirely within your control. You choose whether to examine or ignore, whether to educate yourself or remain ignorant, whether to take coins seriously as potential assets or dismiss them as trivial. And that choice can literally be worth millions. The finest certified example of the 1996 D-multiple error dime sits in a private collection now, unlikely to resurface for decades. But the second finest, the third finest, these coins could be anywhere, in circulation, in collections, in estates, waiting to be discovered, and even mid-grade examples of major errors bring six-figure prices. You don't need to find the finest known specimen to change your life. You just need to find a legitimate major error and have it authenticated. The market will handle the rest. Collectors will compete in bidding. Prices will reach appropriate levels, and you'll realize returns that seem disconnected from the coin's tiny size and original 10-cent value. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure in modern Roosevelt dime errors. The coin that proves paying attention to pocket change isn't silly or trivial, but potentially the highest returning investment research you can do, because where else can you examine assets that cost 10 cents, require zero capital outlay, beyond time and attention, and offer potential returns in the millions? The risk-reward ratio is asymmetric in the extreme. You risk nothing but time. You gain knowledge that's valuable independent of whether you find anything. And if you find something, the returns can be absolutely life-transforming. So here's my final call to action. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, so you never miss potentially life-changing coin information. Hit that like button to support this content and help it reach more people who need this knowledge. Share this video with anyone who handles coins or has collections sitting unexamined. Comment below if you're going to check your coins after watching this. And most importantly, actually take action. Don't just watch and forget. Go through your change, examine your collections, visit banks for rolls of dimes, check estate sales and coin shops. Apply this knowledge actively, because knowledge without action is just entertainment, but knowledge plus action is wealth building, legacy creation, and the kind of financial transformation that changes family trajectories for generations. The 1996 D Roosevelt dime, worth $65 million, exists because someone paid attention, someone noticed, someone investigated, and that someone could be you with the next great discovery. So get out there, start hunting, and may your next dime be the one that changes everything. Thanks for watching NUMIS Treasure Hub. I'll see you in the next video, where we uncover more hidden fortunes waiting in plain sight.